Hare Krishna, Namaste. Today is one of those most auspicious day. It is Ekadashi, and this Ekadashi is well known as Kaishika Ekadasi. It is very relevant. Our yesterday's visit to Tiruvadandai, the temple where the Lord took the form of Varahadev, a wild boar, and entered into the muddy water and brought out the earth, Mother Earth, outside. The Lord kept her on his lap and made her comfort. At that time, Bhudevi, Mother Earth, was very much worried about her children on the earth. Their suffering gave her great sorrow. Therefore, she prayed to the Lord to give them a means by which they can be freed from the worldly bondage and attain Him. For that, the Lord narrated the episode that took place in the village Tirukkurungudi near Tirunelveli in South India, and assured that chanting the name of the Lord, singing the glories of the Lord, is an easy means by which one can attain Him. This story took place in Sri Varaha Puranam. Once there lived a man in Tirukkurungudi, and his name was Nambadwan. We don't know his original name. Nambadwa means one who sings about me. That is, me here stands for the Lord. He was born in a Chandala family who were known for their merciless nature and activities. But this man, contradictory to his family behavior, he was very pious and deeply devoted to the Lord. He used to fast during every Ekadashi, getting up very early in the morning. On the next day, he used to go to the close by temple with his veena in his hands, and remaining at a distance from the temple, he sings songs in praise of the Lord. Once on an Ekadashi, he went to the temple as usual, but on the way he encountered with a Brahma Rakshasa who was very hungry and expressed his desire to eat him up. Nambadwan was very happy to offer his body for the Brahma Rakshasa, because as per the great devotees, whether living in this world or not, they are very happy. If they are going to live in this world, they are going to continue their service here in this world. If they have to leave this world, that is, they have to die, they are still happy because they are going to continue their service in this supreme abode. Therefore, whether here or there, they are happy as their service is going to continue. Therefore, Nambadwan was also very happy. Now he is going to get a chance to serve the Lord in person. But Nambadwan requested Brahma Rakshasa to spare some time so that he may go to the temple and sing the songs and return back. But the Rakshasa was not ready to grant his request, as no one is going to come back if they know they are going to die. Therefore, Brahma Rakshasa refused to grant that permission. At that time, Nambadwan made 18 promises to the Rakshasa to the effect that he would certainly return. Let's see those 18 promises that he makes. These 18 promises that he makes are so very important for each one of us to follow all the time, not only when we encountered with Brahma Rakshasa. Number 1, if I do not return as per my promise, let me get the sin of a man who is a liar. Number 2, let me get the sin of a person who commits adultery if I don't return. Number 3, while eating in the company of a person, if a man differentiates in menu, that is, serving a less quality of food to the guest, he gets a great sin. Let me get that sin if I don't return. Number 4, If a man donates a piece of an earth to a Brahmana and takes it back after some time, he will certainly get sin. Let me get that sin if I don't return. Number 5. If a man enjoys the company of a woman during her youthful age and subsequently rejects her when she becomes old, he is sure to get sin. Let me get that sin if I don't return. Number 6. Having performed Tarpana on Amavasya day and then he has a physical relationship with his wife on the same day, he will get great sin. Let me get that sin if I don't return. Number 7. Having dined delicious dishes in the house of a host, and then if a person showers heaps of abuse on that host from whom he ate food, he is sure to meet with great sin. Let me get that sin if I don't return. Number 8. A man makes a promise that he would give away his young daughter in marriage to a youth, but later on breaks his promise, which would entertain sin. Let me get that sin if I don't return. Number 9. A man is prohibited from eating without taking bath on the sixth day of the fortnight, that is Shashti, Ashtami, Chaturdasi and Amavasya. Let me get that sin if I don't return. Well, it doesn't mean the rest of the days we can eat without taking bath. It is important that we take bath every single day, and specifically mention these days that one must be very certain that they cannot eat without taking shower. Number 10. A man promises to donate something to another man, but he doesn't keep up his promise. Let me get the sin of breach of promise if I fail to come back. Number 11. If a person tries to allure the wife of a friend who has helped him in a manifold ways, he is sure to reach hell. I will get that sin if I fail to return. Again, these are extreme cases which has been mentioned here. So we have to be intelligent enough to understand that it's not only a friend who helped him cannot be cheated by alluring his wife. To anyone for that matter, we shouldn't be doing this. Number 12. If a person afflicted with lust enjoys the company of his teacher's wife, guru's wife, who is responsible for his salvation, and so also the company of the wife of a king who endows all the worldly pleasure to the citizen, to him, he will be the worst sinner. I will suffer that sin by not keeping up my promise. Number 13. A man marries two girls without being impartial to both of them. He enjoys the company of one and rejects the other. He is sure to acquire very great sin. Let me get that sin if I don't keep up my promise. If a man divorces his wife, who is very chaste and has no one to care for her, he will become a sinner. Let me be equated to him for not returning. That means let me get the same sin of that person. By the way, divorce is not at all in the Vedic system. When it says divorce, that means he rejects that wife. That's how it is. There is only vivaha which is mentioned. There is no vivaharat, declination of vivaha. One can reject, but there is no any formal thing called divorce in the Vedic system. Number 15. If a man causes obstruction to the cattle that are afflicted very much by thirst to drink water, he will get a sin. Let me also get that sin by breaking your faith in me. Number 16. Killing a Brahmana, addiction to liquor, stealing gold, breaking a vow are considered to be serious crimes. Severe punishments are prescribed for such a sinner who commits all these crimes. Let me suffer all these punishments in case I fail to get back to you. The Brahma Rakshasa did not let Nambadavan go. He was not in agreement to whatever promises that was made so far. Then Nambadavan continues with the 17th promise. If some people worship only other deities and not Sri Vasudeva, who is easily accessible to everyone and who is omnipresent, they will get a great sin. Let me get that sin if I do not return. Let me repeat this one more time. If some people worship only other deities, meaning other gods, but not Krishna, then they will get a great sin. So let's please make a clear point here. We can say that I am devotee of such and such god, such and such person, and so forth. But if he doesn't worship Krishna, then he is considered to be a greater sinner, and one will get sin for such act. So number one saying, let me get that sin of that person who failed to worship Krishna. The Brahma Rakshasa was still not convinced. Now Nambadavan places his last promise, assurance. Sriman Narayana is the supreme deity. He is the inner soul of all created beings. He is the Antaryami for both sentient and non-sentient. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridesi Archana Tishtati. I am the Ishvara situated in everyone, in everyone's heart. The Vedas also says, Antarbhagisya cha tat sarvam vyapya narayana stitaha. The Lord is situated inside as well as outside. He is present everywhere. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishtaha matta smritit jnanam apohanamscha. I am seated in everyone's heart. From me comes remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. Vedesya sarvair ahameva vedyah vedantakrit vedavideva chaham. By all the Vedas, I am to be known that I am the supreme being. I am the creator, I am the maintainer, and I am the destroyer. I am the cause of all causes. From me everything comes, and into me everything returns. So Nambadavan is saying his 18th promise, making his 18th promise, saying the Lord Krishna is the inner soul of all created beings, for both sentient and non-sentient. Any ritual acts that one is performing, it is all actually meant for Krishna, Sriman Narayana. He is to be meditated by those who are serious, wanting to get liberated from this world, because he is the only one who is able to grant salvation. No one else can do that. Having understood the supreme quality of the Lord, if a man equates Narayana to other devatas, that is the greatest sin, and he will be born in this world again and again and again, because except the Lord, every other devatas, they all are bound by their own karmas. They are not free of their karmas. But if someone equates Krishna with other devatas, then that is a greatest sin of all other sins. Number one says, let me get that sin if I breach my promise. Hearing this 18th promise, Nambadwan was shocked and immediately released his hand and let Nambadwan go and fulfill his commitment and return back. Then Nambadwan went to the temple, sang the songs as usual. Afterward, he was returning back to the same spot where he met the Brahma Rakshasa, but on his way, he met a man. That man asked him, "Where are you going in this great speed?" Nambadwan replied that I am going to go to Brahma Rakshasa because I promised him that I will return back to him so that he can have me as his food. That man said, "You must be a fool. You've been given a chance to escape. Why don't you take another route and escape?" But Nambadwan said, "Well, I have given my word. I will go back to Brahma Rakshasa." That man was none other than Sri Varahadev himself. Nambadwan continued and approached the Brahma Rakshasa. The Brahma Rakshasa was first of all got shocked that this man came back. Then the Brahma Rakshasa explained about his previous life, how he was a Brahmana by the name Soma Sharma. But when performing a sacrifice, he committed all sort of blunder. Because of that, he attained this birth as Brahma Rakshasa. Then this Brahma Rakshasa, after explaining his previous life, requested Nambadwan to grant him the merit of all the songs that he sang in praise of the Lord, so he can be relieved from this Brahma Rakshasa stage. Nambadwan said, "I did not sing to get any merits. I just did out of devotion, love towards the Lord. So I can't give you any punya." Then the Brahma Rakshasa requested him at least to give one merit of his song. Finally, being moved by the condition of this Brahma Rakshasa, pitiable condition, the Nambadwan sang the song in a Kaishika Raga in praise of the Lord for the benefit of this Brahma Rakshasa. The Brahma Rakshasa was relieved of his bond. Later, he was born in a Vaishnava family, and at the end of the birth, he reached Sri Vaikuntham. This is the story narrated by Sri Varahadev to his consort Sri Bhumi Devi. So, few lessons that we learned from this story on this most auspicious Kaishika Ekadasi day. Number one should be very careful not to consider the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna to be one among all the other devatas. Krishna is Purushottama, is Uttama Purusha, is not like us, is not like the devatas, is not like the Muktatmas, is not like Nityatmas, is beyond all the Purushas. He is the Supreme Purusha. Therefore, one must worship Krishna. In fact, one must only worship Krishna. By worshipping Krishna alone, all other devatas are pleased. But if one worship other devata, not Krishna, then as we saw in the 17th promise that Nambadwan made, it is considered to be a greater sin. Well, what if I worship other devatas and also Krishna? Well, that is the 18th promise that Nambadwan makes, not to equate Krishna with other devatas. Worshipping other devatas and Krishna or considering them to be equal is a blunder. Another lesson that we learned from the story is Soma Sharma, though he was a Brahmana, he became a Rakshasa. But Nambadwan, though he was a Chandala, he was able to release the sins of Soma Sharma. Therefore, the caste is not a criteria for one to become a devotee, for one to develop a deep devotion to the Lord. The knowledge the vairagya, bhakti, or the important criteria to attain the Lord, to please the Lord, which can be done by anyone irrespective of their caste. That is why the Lord Himself, while explaining this story to Bhuma Devi, He called this person as Nambadavan, my singer, affectionately. Another important message that we learn from the story is not to commit any offense to devotees based on their caste, their birth. So, on this auspicious day, let us pray at the lotus feet of Sri Lakshmi Varaha to bestow us, to give us that unalloyed bhakti, unflinching bhakti, uninterrupted bhakti at His lotus feet.